Anna Sofie Hartmann, the director of Giraffe, which is part of our focus in German cinema. So very much thank you for joining us, and
Thank you for having me.
congratulations on your beautiful and delicate film. First of all, how are you, and how have you been coping with this whole crisis?
That's that's a complicated answer, I think. It goes up and down. I just want to say thank you so much for showing the film. I'm very sorry I can't be there in person. I mean, I've been lucky enough in this time to be working, because I'm writing on my next film. So, I have lots of friends who are in the industry who have, lost a lot of work, and where it's a lot more insecure. And but apart from the work part, I think for everyone it's hard to not see people and not, be in contact like we usually are. And yeah.
Okay, and we hope that people come out to watch your film here in Belgium. About the film, Giraffe is about Dara, a German ethnologist in Lolland, a Danish island. She's documenting, researching the whole area before it's carved up by a construction site, which is actually the Veerman Beltfix link. So what made you want to tell this whole story?
Well, just one correction. She's Norwegian. She's not German.
Okay.
Which, the thing is, in Denmark and Scandinavia, we can, not Germans, Norwegians and Danes, they can speak together without, you speak Norwegian, I speak Danish, and we sort of understand each other. But to your question, it's, I'm from that part of the country, so I knew about this construction or this project for a long time, because it's been talked about for a long time. And it's just seemed to me to represent a, sort of when we talk about globalization, when we talk about the EU, when we talk about, powers of interconnected markets, it's very sort of abstract. And it seemed this tunnel to me, it's just sort of manifested a lot of ideas. And it also gave me the opportunity to talk about a lot of themes and issues that I'm, that I'm very interested in, like, what does home mean? How does that affect our identity? And the sense of who we are. So, like, how does where we are affect the sense of who we are? And just talk about the transitoriness of life. And sorry, I just want to try and get some more light in this.
No problem.
Did it help? A little bit.
Yeah, about those themes, actually, because you take the story solely as background for, like, telling a story about loss, displacement, globalization. And would you say, has Lolland lost that sense of specific local identity, or has globalization made sure that this identity has been upgraded, or how would you see that?
I would more say that there's, I was born in the mid-'80s where there's a lot of industrial decline had already happened. So a lot of what people were proud of where I come from, it had basically, I think I was born in '84, and in '86 this big factory closed that was making ships, which is also a nice metaphor for, connecting and so on. But anyway, so the Lolland, they also sort of have their own way of speaking. So there are a lot of identity markers on the island, but there's also they've also been sort of skewed into being something you're ashamed of, at least the sort of for 20 years, and now there's like a movement in Lolland to sort of counter that and be proud of coming from there, because it's seen in the rest of the country as like like a not a place you want to be, to say, to put it nicely. And I think so it's like a little bit of a forgotten place or forgotten area of the country, of the world, and then having that big construction, which brings a lot of hope for change in that area. It just seemed to me like there's no place where globalization won't won't reach. Like it's everywhere.
Yeah,
And
even the
that's,
smallest places have been affected by that.
yeah, or will be affected, or maybe places that have been sleepy, or now the changes are coming there, even though it's been sleeping for the last 30-40 years.
And you actually set up three characters: the ethnologist, a construction
Mhm.
worker from Poland, and a woman who works on the ferry, I think, between Germany and Denmark, I think. Yeah, and all seem to have lost a sense of home. Is that the connecting part that you were thinking about in the scenario?
You mean when writing the script, or
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
scenario? Yeah. So there's a reason why we never see Käthe, the woman on the ferry. We never see her home. So she's also in this transitory space. She's sort of not homeless, but in the film she's homeless, and she inhabits this space of transit the whole in the whole film. And sure, I mean, both Dara and Lucek, the Polish worker, they both have left home to work somewhere else, from very different starting points of privilege, and meet in this little bubble space. So it's also talking, taking in the script, or in the thinking about the film, is very clear, and also in the editing, that we're creating this little world where they are even able to meet. So that there's also, I guess you can say, there's also opportunity in these disjointed biographies, or there's opportunity, in these, when we are being pushed from home, or when we're losing our roots, other connections can happen. And then it's maybe more the question of how steady or how permanent they then can be, or how long they last.
Yeah, and talking about home, talking about home, and you already said it, that you also left home. Actually, you left Lolland to go to Berlin. Did you ever feel like Dara, your protagonist, losing maybe a sense of your identity, or?
It's definitely, thoughts when I was writing. Actually, it's in 10 days, it's 15 years since I moved
Oh,
to
wow, yeah.
Berlin. And it's definitely things when I was writing the script 10 years ago, no, not 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I started writing the script. And it was, I had just moved out of, I had just broken up with an ex-boyfriend. I'd moved out of my house. I've been staying, in different apartments. I was basically living in my suitcase for 3 months. And so there was this whole idea of losing one's home. What does home mean even? And then obviously Dara, the main character, we have that in common, that we are living outside of our native country. So there's a whole, that's the very personal aspect to the film for me, or that's, questions that are still, that I still grapple with, also now, like I often get the question, will I move back home? And then it's also, what is home? Because is home here, is home in Denmark? So I am living this in between places as well.
Yeah. And about that character Dara, she's doing archival research, and I was wondering if that research was in any part real, because all the objects she photographers and she studies all have a fascinating story to them. So were these stories real?
Which stories are you asking about, specific stories, or?
Maybe not in specific. We can move to that later, because there are a few stories from the farmers that I would very much like to know. But maybe in specific, that archival research. How did you came about it, and was any part of it real?
Was any part of it real? I have to think. What's real is that so the objects that are in the film are found objects from some of the houses that we visited. So not the cinematographer, our production designer, she found stuff also in the house that where we were shooting Agnes' house. So in Agnes' house, we found all these objects. There's a lot of stuff left. So that house is also made up. It's not a house that's going to get torn down because of the tunnel. It was inspired by, it's more interesting to talk, because so the work that Dara does is a work that has been done. So this part of, and that's how I got to the character, was I was, I was reading about that the museum was doing this kind of work of recording these houses before they're being torn down. And I was talking to one of the ethnologists who has, a woman called Kata, who's actually been doing the work, but their job is mostly in photographing the houses and talking to the residents. And when we started doing the film, that had all been done. And this thing about the objects, I mean, they have containers. So in the very end of the movie, where we see that container with all the stuff, that's actually stuff from the houses that is, that they have deemed noteworthy or, somehow, worthy of being archived. So that stuff is real, but the stuff that we actually photograph is that's our own archival stuff.
Yeah, but
so
talk. Yeah.
No, I was just saying. So this, like, what is true is like it's a bit tricky.
Yeah, but it's really fascinating because I think the farmers you interview maybe or you film are real people, because there's this very delicate and sweet farmer that is actually talking about mysterious rocks on his potato field.
Yes.
And I was wondering, as these farmers are really real people, how did this came about?
Well, the story about the stones with Knut, that's his name, the farmer, who was a great guy. And I wanted to have this aspect of and you can catch it or you can't catch it, but I wanted to have this aspect of the farms. So the farm that Agnes is living in, or the house, it used to be a farm, but now, you can't have farms anymore that aren't of a certain size. And that you have this thing that these big farmers, they buy up the land, but they don't care about the houses anymore. So you have a lot of houses like just being empty or old farmhouses that 40 years ago, a family lived there and they could make a farm of like 40 hectares, but you can't do that anymore. This is a long answer to how we got about. So I wanted to have this big, this farmer who's sort of, and Knul, he is a big farmer, like in the community. He's a businessman. And the story with the stones was something that he told us when we visited at some point. So the way I found all these people was because I wanted to have real people. I wanted to have also their real, like the language, like they all speak this dialect of the island. And I didn't want to have actors sort of embodying these characters, because the spectacle or the drama or the story of the film really lies in, trying to, like, the spectacle, right? It lies in actually meeting these people. So the interest of me and of the film is actually seeing these people and giving them space and time to talk. So I wanted to, that's why I wanted to have real. That's why the film is working with actors and non-actors. And I met Knut through sort of another farmer who knew him, and it was just like calling around. So it's like a lot, people just sort of know each other in that area. And he
well, their concerns are very real, I think, because one farmer says to Dara, it's sad that it will be covered one day in asphalt and turned into a highway. So I think those concerns are very real.
Yeah, that's, so, there are two different farmers. So Knul, he's one who's like the one with the stones, right? He's like a big farmer who's now, he's like the modern image of the farmer. He's the industrial farmer. And then you have this old couple who, have had a small farm and, and it's been in the generations for eight. Knut's farm has also been in his family for ages, but it's just this, how that's different. And the first scene to me with Leif and Birde, that you're talking about, that's obviously this to talk about how it is to lose one's home. What does it mean? What does it even mean to be connected to a space? What kind of memories does a space contain? Are those memories lost when the house is not there anymore? And this idea that you can revisit memories when you revisit houses, or that, so it's all these ideas that are informing the film and the script. And when I was thinking about the film.
What was also very fascinating to me is that this intense love between Dara and the Polish construction worker, it feels like a fleeting moment in time. It never feels like they will end up happily ever after, like maybe in other films. And how did you approach this relationship in terms of script, in terms of the visual approach even?
Well, in terms of, so the way I was thinking about it was that, you know, we create this little bubble, this little world where they both are, and you know, they share this space and time, but both of them are, it's finite, right? They're not going to be there for very long. So that just sort of sets it up. It's going to be, it's not going to last. They're not going to stay in the same space or same place together for very long. So it's sort of, it's, you know, it's like it's in the cards already, that it's not going to be, that it's not going to last. And, you know, sometimes I think you meet people in certain circumstances or in certain places for a certain time, and things, you know, I think we all know that, you know, it can be that you share 3 years of school together. It can be, you know, whatever you share, and then, you know, it's sort of, it lasts for the time that you are sharing a space, but then sort of outside of that context, it doesn't live on anymore. And then it's to me, to have that short relationship was made it possible to talk about the impermanence of every relationship, or of you know, it might be 3 months or it might be 3 years, but most things, you know, they don't last forever. And how do you then make sure, or how do you live, you know, while it lasts? How do you I guess I was to just be happy about it when it lasts, you know, or let it be, enjoy it, or sort of, you know, you really, I guess it's saying, you know, really be, when things are there, you know, be conscious of them and be grateful for them, or or enjoy them when they're there, because, you know, most things will.
Yeah, because the film really feels like a rumination of lost memories almost. So I think that's a very challenging thing to film. So how did you came about the visual approach of your film?
Well, I think what you're saying, like with this, you know, speaking about loss and passing of time and stuff, that's all sort of in this subject matter, right? That's later, that's sort of coming together. So like trying to draw a lot of parallels between different, what's it called? Between different levels. So between different levels of also timelines. So, you know, you have the timeline, or the timeline of Dara and Lucic, which is very intense, but you also have sort of the couple who's been together for 40 years or living in this house for 40 years. You have Agnes, who has a different timeline. You know, there's all these. So I think the multitude of talking about change makes it possible to, you know, to get the thoughts of, okay, this is about memories, and about impermanence, and about transitoriness. So the visual style is mostly saying, okay, we're gonna see fragments of things, and the visual style, I guess, it's just being very precise. It's trying to be very precise in what we see and what we sort of don't see, and also saying, so the way we film spaces is never really giving the whole picture, or never trying to give the sense that we encompass the whole world in one image, but always having the feeling that sort of, that, you know, that like the world will continue outside of these frames.
Yeah, when I was watching Giraffe, I really thought of Western, the film by Valiska Krisenbach, and also Western.
Western.
Western, yeah. And I also actually thought about our Belgian director, Chantal Ackerman, News from Home, maybe.
I love, that's one of my favorite films.
Ah, voilà, for me too. So, and I thought, any matter were you influenced by those filmmakers, by Krisenbach, by Ackerman, and maybe other filmmakers?
I mean, I think Krisenbach, I mean, she was, we even talked about the script. So she was a teacher at my film school, and she helped with my first film. I remember having one session with her, and we had several sessions with the script for Giraffe as well, because she worked for the same production company produced Giraffe and produced Western. So she was sort of a script consultant for we had a few sessions together. You know, but her films are very different. Her aesthetic is very different. You know, it's handheld. The way she shoots is, you know, they shoot and shoot and shoot. The scenes can take half an hour, so they're very different in the, you know, in the expression or in the filmic language, I would say. You know,
But she also talks about migrant workers in
Sure.
Western. So the themes are very similar, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just also being a little bit, you become a bit, what's the word? It's like when every duck is black, you sort of don't see when, I don't know, someone is gray or something. It's like, I don't know, it's like nuances, right? It's sort of, we're probably more similar, but from my perspective, you know, I feel we're very different, but obviously from a perspective from Hollywood or something, we're very similar. But and Chantal Akerman, like News from Home is one of my favorite films. You know, this idea of even, I mean, and lots of her films, like the last film she did with her mother is fantastic. You know, I think aesthetically, you know, I studied at the German Film and Television Academy, which is where Angela Schanelek is from. And I'm very much indebted to that sort of Berlin school of how to depict spaces and think about spaces and think about time. But I'm also hoping I'm trying to find my own language and finding my own way of expressing, you know, and sort of moving away from it while still sort of being being from that school or being from that sort of tradition.
But you managed to do it very successfully, in my opinion. So, and maybe the inevitable question for our audiences is of course, why is the film called Giraffe? Because I know, of course, the film begins with an image of a giraffe, but maybe explain a bit why you decided to call the film Giraffe.
Well, like you say, the film starts with this giraffe, and the giraffe is also on the island of Lolland. There's a safari park up north, and because I wanted the film to speak about like being not rooted, what's it called? It's like Entwurzelung is the German word, right? So it's like you're derooted, and being a foreigner, being like a strange animal in a place. You know, some people notice, some people doesn't, but the giraffe is standing in front of evergreen firs, right? Like it's not standing in the savannah. It's not in Africa. So it's like just to talk up to maybe get like to put that seed of the idea that, okay, here's something amiss or here's something out of place, like this. So it's, you know, talking about being out of place and not having and so that's one way of looking at it, and, you know, and another way is I was saying, okay, so, you know, Dara is this giraffe who's like out of place and sort of in a strange place and trying to navigate that. So that's, to me, that made sense, that it's sort of it's both speaking about one of the themes I want to talk about, and is also referencing the actual main character.
And I read somewhere that you will be forever in the company of a giraffe. Is that true?
What?
That you will be forever in the company of a giraffe, because I read somewhere that you even have a tattoo of a giraffe. Is that true?
Well, we don't have we had a, where did I find it? I found these like non-permanent giraffes.
Okay.
And so for the premiere, it was the editor, one of the production managers, the cinematographer, me, and we all had like a giraffe tattoo on our arm, but there's nothing.
It's not permanent. Okay.
No, but there are giraffes everywhere. Really, everyone. I mean, there are giraffes everywhere. It's a very beloved animal, I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
It's also a beautiful animal.
Yeah, and if there's one thing that the audience should take home from this film in Belgium, what would you say to them that they have to take home?
I don't know if they have to take anything home, but I hope that when they get into the film that they'll be open to it, you know. And I think staying open is sort of maybe the most important, like, and that maybe the only thing I say that, you know, everyone has stories, and everyone is sort of everyone's story is like interesting, and everyone has a story that's sort of worth telling.
That's a nice message. So so much, very much thanks to you, and I
You're
hope
welcome.
the Belgian audiences will enjoy this film. So thank you.
Yeah, me too. Have
Okay,
a really nice festival. I'm really sorry I can't be there.
no problem.